first of all, I made a horrible mistake yesterday because I wasn't paying attention, and I said Patrick Beja was going to be on the show today. I was only half right. Patrick Norton's going to be on the show today.
I have a server named Not Behaz, and I was just like, what was I doing while I was setting this up? And I was like, oh, Daily Tech News Show.
That's funny. Can you speak in a French accent during the show, or?
I don't know, Tom. Can I? With my outrageous accent.
Excellent. We'll be fine.
Oh, or I'll taunt you again.
Taunt you a second time. All right, here we go. 3, 2.
Hey, Dad, can you lend me $1, please?
Yeah, sure. Why?
Because I want to donate to Daily Tech News Show.
What? How are you going to do that?
I'm going to head over to patreon.com/acedetect, and if you like the show, then you can donate too.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, May 26th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Patrick Norton of TechThing, Twitch, Possibly Unsafe, Threatwire, and so much more. Patrick, I apologize. At the end of yesterday's show, I promoted Patrick Beja, who's often on Tuesdays, but Patrick Beja is traveling, and so I was only half right.
So I'm the second Patrick. Now go away.
I don't want you to make. I don't want to make you feel like a secondary Patrick. You are the original Patrick in my technology journalism life. Nothing could change that.
But in the terms of the Daily Tech News Show, I am a backup Patrick.
You are our primary guest, Patrick. Our favorite, not on the official contributor list, Patrick. I'm just
diplomacy lost.
I'm just going to dig myself into a hole if I don't shut up, aren't
I? It's beautiful, man.
Hey, thanks for being here. Let's take a look at the headlines. Hey, look, headlines. It's a distraction maneuver. Microsoft announced today that it will bring a Cortana app to Android and iOS, coming to Android in June and iOS later this year. The app will have most of the functions of Cortana, but it can't work with the settings or launch apps because, well, the operating systems won't let it do that. Windows 10 is also getting a companion app for phones that helps you integrate whatever phone you have with your Windows 10 device. And the Xbox Music apps for the various platforms are getting an update in late June or July that will let them play music stored in OneDrive at no additional charge. This is going to be our main topic because not only are these interesting developments, but it fits into that larger trend that has been happening with Microsoft. Twitter's Periscope is now available for Android users. According to CNET, the Android version of the popular broadcasting app will have comparable features to the iOS version, including the ability to tweet links to the broadcast, location sharing, etc. Additionally, Android users get specific control over notifications, including when a follower goes live, shares a broadcast, or follows someone else. And if a user leaves a broadcast to answer a text message, they'll get a notification kind of nudging them back to the broadcast that they were watching. Periscope is in that limbo now where it's launched, it's hyped, it's now on Android. You know, the majority of phone users can use it. Patrick Norton, do you think it will continue to rise like a Twitter or fall like a Quick?
Or a meerkat, for that matter. Yeah, the two meerkats go splat when they hit the ground. I think it's curious. I'm still trying to figure out what the long term, because right now I think we're in the super novelty phase of Periscope. I think it's 50-50 for moving forward, because I think if it does anything particularly well, YouTube will probably figure out a way to sublimate it into YouTube in a more meaningful way. I don't know. Twitter needs something other than tweets right now in a really big and public way.
Yeah, they need diversification, too.
Yeah.
So Periscope kind of gives them both of that if this trend can continue for them. 9 to 5 Mac reports that Apple's Jony Ive has been promoted. They had to create a new position for him to do it. Chief Design Officer at Apple. Ive will still be in charge of the company's hardware and software design teams overall, but he's giving up day-to-day management. The industrial design department will go to Richard Howarth, and Alan Dye will manage user interface design on desktop and mobile devices. Ive will focus on the design of Apple's retail stores and the new Apple campus. So I'm imagining, Patrick, that soon we will walk into Apple retail stores and they'll just be entirely white.
You know, they almost are entirely white. So you can change the tables. The tables have a wood.
Tables are still wood, though they could be white.
They could do white text on the white background.
If they could get rid of the tables, I think that might be good, too.
But it's so funny that they're doing that at the same time they've just brought in this world-class leader to run the stores. Now they're going to suddenly, maybe, is Johnny Ive working hand in hand to help redesign the stores with a new head of retail? I'm more curious does this mean he's sort of the new Steve Jobs in terms of design decisions on hardware and software?
I had that same thought of they've kind of taken Steve Jobs' personality and broken it up amongst the various executives at Apple, and this is the one who Johnny Ive is the one who takes that famous Steve Jobs trait of obsessing over design details to perfection
and being the deciderer on those.
Yeah,
which is, I think, that was Steve's gift, right? That sort of editorial process and editing and having no one to say no. So that's, I think, the real curious kind of future. Or maybe he just feels like I don't know, it's kind of funny because with iOS 9 around the corner, the next generation iPhones, I think it's a really interesting time for him to be making that jump up where he is.
And it's also entrusting Howarth and Dye with keys to the kingdom in a way, saying like, look, you guys are doing a great job. I don't need to supervise you every moment. That's a huge thing for someone like Johnny Ive to sign off on.
Yes.
Speaking of Apple, 9to5Mac has sources that say Force Touch will come to the next version of the iPhone and be supported by iOS 9. If you don't know, Force Touch is that thing on new MacBooks and MacBook Pros as well as the Apple Watch where the pressure, the force with which you touch the surface is measured. On the phone, it may replace some long press and hold interactions.
Seems a natural. Having spent a lot of time with the Apple Watch, it was something I expected to get more use out of. And I think
I kind of keep forgetting when it is supposed to be used, and I'm like, oh right, I need to force touch that one. So.
Yeah, I think it'll probably actually work better on the phones because there's nothing else to confuse your interaction with on the screen. There's no little twiddly knob on the side.
Yeah, it could be
a crown of glory.
One of 9to5Mac's sources says this is going to be for power users. I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
ZDNet reports EMC will buy VirtuStream for $1.2 billion, allowing the company to offer hybrid cloud-managed service. The acquisition adds the as-a-service element to EMC's chain. They have VMware, they have enterprise hybrid cloud, they have converged infrastructure and such. If you've been following the chatter about hybrid cloud, you can now impress your friends and say, I think managed service marketing is going to supersede that. And they'll all be like, oh, I heard that from that guy at that cocktail party once.
I'm just not even touching that, dude. Just keep going.
CNET reports that Android Police has revealed rumors from a reliable source that Google will release 2 new Nexus phones, but no tablet this year. One phone produced by LG is supposedly codenamed Angler and will feature a 5.2-inch screen, possibly a Snapdragon 808 processor, and 2,700 milliamp hour battery. The second phone is supposed to be a 5.7-inch Snapdragon 810 processor with a 3,500 milliamp hour battery from Huawei. This one's supposedly codenamed Bullhead. Both phones should be out around October. I would find it interesting if Google put out 2 Nexi that were phones when they already have the Nexus 6 and no tablet when really all they have is the Nexus 9. The Nexus 7 is aged.
It's aged, but I think it fills the niche fairly well. I would suspect at this point that they're willing to let it sell for as long as possible. I was kind of staring at the prices of tablets in Costco the other day, where you can get a pretty badass tablet for $200. It feels like for what people do with tablets, the technology has slowed down considerably because not a lot of people are creating content. The majority of it is consumption, especially on a tablet of that size. So they probably feel like they can coast on it for a little while, or maybe they're just being generous and giving their partners an opportunity to move things forward. I mean,
yeah,
and I guess did they kill off the 7 because the 9's still available?
I was just checking that for you actually, and yes,
gone.
it is. The 7 is no longer even listed on the store. So all they have is the Nexus 9.
Yeah, and that's a fairly, $400, it's pretty expensive for a tablet these days. When you start, if all you want to do is play movies and read books and do some email, you can do that with a $200 tablet. Even one colored sand. I don't know. It's a mess. I think tablets are a messy market right now.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mentioned it, it shouldn't surprise me that they wouldn't come out with a tablet because tablets are not the place where you're going to make the greatest progress right now. And at the same time, phones are commoditized. You can still sell a lot of them. So
Yeah. It's interesting.
The Verge reports that Ford has expanded their test of a car-sharing service in London. They've got a new full service called Go Drive. It's one way, so you don't have to bring the car back. Guaranteed parking at your destination. It'll use a fleet of Fiestas and Focus Electrics and initially be open to 2,000 people who will have access to 50 cars spread across 20 locations around London. Real-time charges are displayed on the Go Drive smartphone app, and the first 5 minutes are free, so you can figure out how to use the dang thing before you start getting charged for your minutes.
That's a good thing. I mean, it's also, I'm curious, given the reports I've heard of the average pace of traffic in London has not changed in like 400 or 500 years. So I'm kind of curious, what kind of a play are people only going to use these sort of at midnight? It just seems like an enormously difficult place to make vehicle rentals actually useful.
It almost has to be one way, right? Or else you did. I mean, obviously, there's limits on one way. You can't, drive it up to Manchester. I'm guessing. But yeah, it's an interesting place to try to solve this. And I know Ford is marketing and testing this in other cities as well. But man, I kind of feel like if they could solve it in London, they could solve it most places.
If they can solve it in London, I think they can solve it anywhere, because London is one of the most brutally crowded cities in the universe during the day. I'll be really curious to see how this works out for them.
And I know they're not the only manufacturer doing this sort of thing, and I think that's really smart in a long-term sense, because as self-driving cars become more of a reality in the next 5 to 10 years, if you have a service like this, you can start building self-driving cars and making them part of this service.
As part of your, creating cars as a service, not something anybody owns, which is...
and then you can have your car as a service element to your enterprise change.
I'm just still trying to get over the idea that like GM and John Deere are working so hard to make it impossible to repair your vehicle.
Yeah, no, I know. It does not surprise me, and yet I can't get over it either.
Yeah.
Engadget reports Google announced Tuesday it is funding a $20 million grant to make the world more accessible. The Google Impact Disabilities program wants to create, quote, universal access for people with disabilities. The general public is asked to submit what-if questions, and startups and inventors are asked to respond. The program is open for submissions until September 30th, 2015 at 2 p.m. Pacific time. You can go to get.google.com/disabilities impact challenge, all one word. If you have an idea or if you're a developer who would like to respond to one of these ideas. And it's accessibility not just on the internet or computers, but the entire world. Pretty interesting challenge there. $20 million almost doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah, but it's not enough to, given what you can do with a $1 million prize or a $50,000 bug hunt, they should get some pretty extraordinary ideas out of this.
Yeah. One would hope. Cool stuff, though. Good job.
Absolutely.
News from you comes in all the time. The Cortana story, for instance, was on our subreddit. We get lots of good stories on the subreddit, so get in there and vote, folks. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Derekhuether shared a post from inhabitat.com. This was the top one when I did the lineup. Had stills of Tesla's Gigafactory under construction in Nevada. The factory will span 10 million square feet when completed. In a tweet, Tesla CEO Elon Musk said this is not the full Gigafactory. It's just a pilot plant, so it's a quarter of the size. At that size, it's a quarter of the size. The finished factory will cover hundreds of acres and be among the largest factories in the world. Tesla's Gigafactory will be run on renewable energy using power from 3 sources. The flat roof will be covered in solar panels, factory will be plugged into a wind farm, and there will be a geothermal electricity plant. Emery Peterson, a Nevada local, shot the video using a DJI Phantom 3 professional quadcopter from a few miles away.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes them to scale up. I want so much for the Gigafactory to be successful because I want so much for the price of batteries to drop down in a meaningful way.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, it's also funny, if you've never been up in that part of Nevada, there's huge amounts of empty, and I'm kind of curious where they're going to get all the water they're going to need for production there. That's going to be an interesting...
I imagine they have a solution, but I wonder what it is. That's a good. Yeah. That's a really good point. And I also love that this quadcopter footage really does feel at the same time professional and totally spy. Like you feel like this guy's going to get in a lot of trouble for this, but in fact, no. They were like, "Yeah, this is great. No, we're happy you did it."
What are they going to do? I mean, it's
Streisand effect, right? Like, what are you going to do? Habichuelacondulce posted the Bloomberg Business article that Charter Communications is near a deal to buy Time Warner Cable. That deal is actually now confirmed. Charter will pay about $55 billion. That price got driven up by Patrick Drahi's Atis SA. They had also been pursuing Time Warner Cable. As a part of the deal, Bright House Networks will also be acquired by Charter and merged into the combined entity. They will end up with about 17 million subscribers, placing them firmly in second place in the United States to Comcast's 22 million. And as you may remember, Comcast dropped their pursuit of Time Warner Cable in April due to regulatory concerns. The transaction is expected to be completed by the end of 2015.
Be really curious to see. I still think the best thing to come out of the failed efforts, Comcast's failed efforts to purchase Time Warner's, is that they basically decided that maybe, just maybe, after spending like $45 million over the last couple of years in attempting to get this through and lobbying and just getting their asses kicked in the public forum, and also they did apparently such a deplorable job with the Universal, the NBC Universal, that they realized that maybe, just maybe, they needed the court of public opinion and for their customers to hate them less.
I mean, I've always felt so, but they didn't seem to really mind all that much. I also am not thrilled with the Charter Time Warner Cable merger. It creates a bigger ISP, and we need more ISPs, not bigger ISPs. Well, at the same time, Charter has been a pretty good citizen as far as an ISP goes, voluntarily following a lot of the principles that net neutrality advocates often uphold.
I know that's kind of what I was thinking. Is I agree. You know, we need more ISPs that are all serving the same place. But I think also the idea of having someone that is getting very close to Comcast inside will do a lot for Comcast's behavior. Yeah, they have to be utterly. I'm sure they're pissed is probably a small, tiny, meek word to sort of describe the rage that's going on right now in the upper echelons of Comcast and their board.
That is a kind way of describing Brian Roberts and friends' feelings right now. I'm sure. And metalfreak flagged the PC World Report that Orange is moving Kenyan mobile subscribers off CDMA and launching 5 LTE networks in Africa this year. This is a growing trend in Africa. Telecom Namibia shut down all its CDMA sites March 31st and moved customers to HSPA Plus and LTE. One factor for the moves, besides speed and service, is that in Africa, CDMA handsets tend to cost more than GSM handsets.
Which is interesting. I wonder how many people, this is as many people as complained about, Sprint migrating off of their old technology onto the new technology. I wonder how traumatic financially it's going to be for people in Africa that are going to have to upgrade their phones to move from CDMA to LTE.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't presume that it will be harder for them, but I don't know that it is. This article implies that those old handsets are less capable and more expensive, so maybe it'll be an easy transition. I don't really know.
Well, it's funny because they have stats from the Nigerian Communications Commission. So there's like 2.1 million CDMA lines running. December 2014 to January 2015, GSM has 139 million active lines. So I think it's just the point where they're just finally giving up and redeploying the technology. Yeah. I mean, it's probably a pain to be running 2 parallel networks.
And a lot of the handsets are on a pay-as-you-go basis anyway, which will make it easier for people to switch to a new handset if they need to. But again, there may be some hidden costs here for folks who are like, oh, great, now this handset, which is the only handset I can afford and I can't replace, is suddenly useless. And that is a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about Microsoft. Joe Belfiore put a video up. There was a blog post he wrote up about the 3 main things. One thing that I think is probably underplayed in this story is the fact that the Xbox Music app will allow you to play your music from OneDrive over the cloud without charging you. It has been the policy of companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, etc., to charge you to access your own music over the cloud. So that's pretty cool. But the one that's getting all the splash is we're making a Cortana app for Android, and it's coming in June, and we're making one for iOS too, and it's coming shortly after that.
I've been waiting several hours to make this joke. Steve Ballmer must be spinning in his grave right now.
Was it me? Or did Belfiore seem to gulp a little bit when he said, if you have an iPhone, when he was talking about the Cortana app. Like he imagined Ballmer's still lurking in the corner and is just about to gut punch him for saying it.
I don't think Ballmer's lurking anywhere. I think if Ballmer wants to make his presence known, he owns enough shares in Microsoft. He can. It's not like are you going to be the security guard that doesn't let Steve Ballmer back on the Microsoft campus?
Hell no.
But it's also, it's something we saw at Build this year, something we saw at the Windows 10 launch where a whole bunch of people at Microsoft in charge are thinking radically different thoughts about how Microsoft should play, because they have a decade of hard-won wisdom that says closing it down doesn't work very well, refusing to move on to other platforms doesn't work very well, complicating the lives of developers doesn't work very well. So what can we do to make our, they're watching Intel. It's kind of like Intel trying to fight with ARM, where they're like, gosh, we ignored that whole market to the point where that whole market is a much larger volume of processors than we sell. Now, we make a lot more money on each processor, but the whole world's doing mobile.
Yeah, and the key here is Microsoft seems to be, and I don't know if they would express it this way, but it seems to me they're saying, how can we make it easier for people to use our stuff?
Yeah, which is, Windows 10, right? Like Windows 8 was very obviously, Microsoft is going to tell you the better way to use Windows because we're all going to be using touchscreens. And it's like, you know what? Outside of the occasional, for me and a lot of people I know, outside of the occasional gesture, a touchscreen on desktop is a waste of money and a waste of time. And that interface, which only really worked well on tablets, was an incredible pain in the ass, the interface formerly known as Metro. And to watch all of the design decisions they've made in Windows 10, I know some people that are very sad, like, Charms can't go away. I love Charms. It's like, okay, there's you and like the guy that designed Charms and the guy that designed Charms' mother, and everybody else is kind of like, it's very much... it's funny because it's a lot of things that were lost over time in OS 10, which was unity of design and very clear, sort of very clear progress through the interface seems to be showing up in Windows 10. I'm obviously very bullish on Windows 10. I think it's I think it's the operating system Microsoft desperately needs after Windows 8. And I didn't particularly hate Windows 8, but it's so interesting to watch how the talking on the screen is translating into how they are actually physically doing things. Hey, we're going to do a free development tool. Hey, we'll port code from anywhere. Hey, we're going to try to actually make one code base for all of the from everything from phones all the way up, or Internet of Things all the way up to supercomputers. Like it's such a bizarre thing to hear from Microsoft, which has mostly been known for internal fiefdom and fighting and trying to see how much of the world's biggest lead in technology they can blow in the course of a decade.
And the third element here that we haven't talked about yet is the Windows 10 phone companion. It ties right into what you're talking about. I think a lot of people are misinterpreting or confusing the Cortana and the Windows 10 phone companion part of this. The Windows 10 phone companion is a Windows 10 app.
Right.
And what it does is it says, what phone do you have? And you have to pick Windows Phone, Android, or iOS. They don't have integration for any other platforms at this point, at least according to this announcement. But once you do, it says, great, on your platform, here are all the apps that you can use. Here are all the things that they can do. Here are links for you to easily install them on your phone and integrate them. And now you can manage them from this one app. And so anything you do on Windows 10 can be accessed by those apps. Now, some of it seems to be a little bit of smoke and mirrors to me. They're talking about, hey, OneNote now syncs. I'm like, it did before, didn't it? Like, that was kind of the whole point of OneNote. But it is cool that they're saying, hey, we'll make it easy again for you to know all of the things that you could transfer to whatever phone you use.
Yeah, no, it's funny, like just the whole idea of even them taking something like Cortana. What I really want to see is I want them to do this. I want it to work really, really well. And certainly they have the resources to make it work really, really well on both iOS and Android. And then I want that to spur Apple and Google to make all of their stuff more accessible on other platforms. And then I finally want, an Apple iTunes application for the Roku. So this is how it's all unfolding for me in the giant hug of technology that we all desperately need as consumers.
And I think what Satya Nadella has identified here, my guess is that what made Microsoft successful in the 80s and 90s was they owned the platform.
Right.
and Windows is no longer the platform. The cloud is the platform. For all my joking about the buzzwords with EMC, that story is indicative of the fact that everyone realizes he who owns the service owns the future customers.
Yes.
And that's what Satya Nadella is doing here. He's saying, great, let's make sure you use our stuff, and then we can make sure that Microsoft Azure is serving it up, and that's where we really win. They also announced 20 new OEM partners today: LG, Sony, Haier, Positivo, Wortmann, a bunch of others, to default install Microsoft applications on Android tablets.
It's going to be interesting. I want to see it work.
Yeah.
I want to see.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's whole talking to programmers, they're half like really excited, like, hey, we can take this code we have and these apps and we can migrate it, and it worked on Android, it'll work on Windows, and they have this cool app that's going to make it really easy, and then they all go just like Java back in 1995.
So sad.
Yeah, which was a great idea. So, and again, Microsoft has all of these extraordinary resources. They have all this money they can hurl at this problem, and all of this talent. So I'm just hoping, I want them to pull it off.
Yeah.
Microsoft as the underdog.
It's weird to phrase it that way, but it's sort of true, at least in a certain, in the mobile sense, they are. I have to say, I'm looking at this saying, gosh, you know what? You bundle in a paid music service into that OneDrive thing, and I'll start thinking about that, because that's why I use Google Music All Access now, is I want to have music that I don't have to own combined with music that I do own. There's some really compelling things. I've been using the Apple Watch, and I was talking with Allison Sheridan over email today. I'm like, the one thing I like about it is the activity tracking, which hilariously makes me think, well, maybe I should buy a Microsoft Band or a Fitbit or something, because if that's all I want, I should get something that's really interoperable and tracks the health stuff, because I don't really care about anything else on the wearables front.
Funny how that works.
Let's get to our pick of the day. Devulu recently wanted a self-hostable way to save articles and web pages, sort of like a personal Pocket. He liked using Pocket, but he wanted to do it himself. He wanted to have his control over the server. Devulu writes, after some searching, I found Wallabag at wallabag.org. It's WALLABAG. Free and open source, does the job quite well. While the interface may not be as intuitive as other partially free or paid services, the features make up for it. Has apps for Android, iOS, and Windows. I have not used the apps myself, but I hope they are good, he says. There are Firefox and Chrome extensions, add-ins, plus a bookmarklet. You can also download all your saved links in EPUB 3, Mobi, or PDF. It can import from similar services like Pocket, Readability, or Instapaper, and export for moving to new Wallabag installations. You can customize the theme, have multiple users, and there's probably a bunch more features I left out, he says. I haven't tried it either, but it's there. It seems to be a legitimate open source project. So if you want to roll your own read it later service, wallabag.org. Check it out.
What? There's no Raspberry Pi version?
Oh, man.
It's
over. Thanks, Devulu. Appreciate you sending that. Send your fix to us, folks. You got something you enjoy using, something that you rave about, even if you may have heard it mentioned before. Send it to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. And you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. All right, a few quick emails before we're out of here. Allison Sheridan, I mentioned earlier, asked her husband to post this in the Reddit, but it didn't get voted up. I think it's worth mentioning. The new CEO at GoDaddy seems to have made substantive changes about women, from hiring a female CTO to hiring 40% women into technical and engineering internships. It's progress. And apparently getting rid of the sexy lady ads, and Allison is encouraged by that. So check it out. There's a Wired article talks about it. GoDaddy isn't the company you think. They're trying to clean up their image. This is what it sounds like.
Well, it's yeah.
It was a little filthy, a little dirty.
It was what it was.
The image was.
Yes.
Joe Pilot wrote in with his own skepticism about whether someone could hack into the flight control on an airplane through the onboard entertainment system. He doesn't fly an Airbus, but Joe flies 737s and writes, maybe he, and he's talking about the hacker, found a way, but luckily there's two guys up front who'll just kick the automation off if anything wacky happens. Normally there's a standard phraseology for all pilots when the automation starts doing something unexpected. Quote, "What the hell is this thing doing now?" End quote. Followed by rage quitting the autopilot and or auto throttles. Yes, I know it's a common myth that the airplanes fly themselves, but they don't. And there's actually a really good article today from Wired going into the details of what is possible to be hacked on various planes. And it seems unlikely that anyone actually was able to influence the avionics. The avionics are mostly one way. There's a couple situations where they might have Ethernet, but even then, they're not supposed to accept any incoming transmissions from the in-flight entertainment system. So.
But that's also why the hacker in question that is quietly, who's not been charged or arrested. But it's according to the article on Wired that he actually had access to the thrust management computer, which is my understanding is, what the autopilot talks to or the flight controls actually talk to, so that they could it's messy and it's complicated. Networks are sometimes left open in really horrible ways, which I think is what the hacker, the security researcher, we'll call him rather than hacker, was doing in this case. But my understanding was they had access to a fairly low level of control over the engines that might actually be, if you're thinking of a stack, somewhere beneath the level that they could actually control or impact from the cockpit. It'd be interesting to find out. I think it's going to be moot, because I think the FAA and the manufacturer who've been ignoring this is probably going to figure out a way to shut it down really quickly.
Yeah. There is some confusion about what he's claiming he actually did and what actually is possible, because even that thrust management computer can't do what he claims happened, which is have one engine thrust more than the other. At least that's what the expert Wired talked to says. But that's one of the reasons I'm really glad that Joe Pilot wrote into us. That's not his real name, by the way. But Joe was like, even if he's like, I don't believe he was able to do this, but even if he did, we're sitting there. Like we would just go, what the hell? Turn it off. So it makes me feel a little bit. And then Tom, I'm Tom. He's saying, hey, Tom. Marlon, the guy from Trinidad, wrote in and wanted to point out a really good Google I.O. preview from Ron Amadeo at Ars Technica. And I read through it, and it's great. If you want to get briefed on everything that might happen starting May 28th, the Google I.O., go check this out, arstechnica.com. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. Thanks for sending that, Marlon. Cool. Marlon littered his email with Wu-Tang Clan references, which is one of the reasons I'm not reading it. I just think that sounds silly coming out of my mouth. And that's it for the show. Thank you, Patrick Norton, my friend. Always a pleasure.
I was laughing. I thought there were going to be more. I'm so used to being more people on the show, and I'm like, oh, that's why Tom keeps stopping and staring at me, because there's no one else to talk other than Tom and I. It's like...
That's we get an intimate atmosphere. It speeds things along, keeps things focused. No, this is great, man. You always have great insights. It was fun talking about this stuff with you. Check out. I'm also a huge fan of ThreatWire. You guys are kicking ass with that. It's really good.
Thank you. No, it's been really exciting. Like Darren and Chan and I are reviving that and doing basically three freaking. Well, Darren's probably described it 200 times at this point, but we're looking at online security, personal security, and threats to the internet. We speak.
My only complaint is I would like it more often. That's my only complaint.
Let's get it wired at 3 days a week, and then we'll discuss how we can do 5 days a week.
Been there.
Let us run before we crawl.
Absolutely.
Wait, scratch that. Reverse it.
And check out Tech Thing too. Shannon and Patrick keeping you up to date weekly, right? You guys are just weekly. You haven't expanded past that. Okay.
Well, weekly seems to be working. The audience is still growing. TEKTHING.com because TECHTHING.com was $2,200 and TEKTHING.com was $9. And,
TEK is much cooler per dollar spent, believe me.
Yeah. Plus there's that whole Techzilla Tech Thing tie-in.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's the K-Tech thing.
And follow Patrick on Twitter, twitter.com/Patrick Norton. Thank you, my friend. As always, a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
And thanks to our patrons, 5,048 folks who are willing to keep the show on the air or air. I guess if you're listening on Wi-Fi, this stuff is still on the air. Patreon.com/acedetect if you'd like to support us on a regular basis, or dailytechnewsshow.com/support for all the different ways. A few people have been writing in saying, I just tell people about the show. Love to hear that. Please, whether you're supporting financially or not, tell folks about the show if you like it, or I guess if you don't, I'm not going to stop you. I can't tell you what to say. But I like it better when you tell me you like it. dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live at alphageekradio.com and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Scott Johnson, and I'm really sure this time it's Scott Johnson.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Excellent.
Dude, you're closing in on a video feed, man.
I already passed it, and then I got rid of the people whose credit cards were declined. Oh, not video feed, sorry. Yeah, I am closing on video feed. I misheard what you said. Oh, yeah, we're back up. We were below 16,000 for a brief moment this morning, but we're back up.
No, I'm just like, holy cow.
It's Patreon taking its cut.
Actually, wasn't that this time. This was just
Thanks, buddy.
Once a week, or once a month, I have to dump the declined cards.
What if someone was actually just embezzling from all these Patreons, or just like doing a nickel, like a nickel per day?
Don't do that to my head, because Patreon is feeding my children, and I need to trust that relationship is honest and wholesome.
Speaking of
Do
children,
it.
I hear mine crying.
Oh, Ellie.
Oh my goodness. 222. Somehow it seems like this has been going longer than that.
What's 222?
222 creator posts on Daily Tech News Show.
Oh, yeah. I don't post the shows anymore. That's why.
Thank you.
360 is how many shows we've done for DTNS.
Wow. Dude, that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a year and almost 6 months.
Have you managed to recreate all the staff meetings you missed from your previous employments?
I haven't. Huh.
Excuse me.
Oh.
I haven't done that from either Twit or CNET. Interesting. We actually didn't have many staff meetings. One of the things I liked about Twit, there weren't a ton of those. CNET had a lot of meetings.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Tech TV had a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
In fact, my job at Tech TV was all meetings at one point. It was the way of the world.
Phase of life.
Yeah. That's Eileen's world right now. Her job is she does all her work at home, because when she's at work, she's in too many meetings to get any work done.
That just doesn't seem productive.
No, it's not it's not just her. It's not unusual. I'm sure there's tons of people out there who are like, oh yeah, that's right. That's how it works at my job.
It's like, yeah, it's what I like about, somebody's like, oh, you're self-employed, like, scary. Like, yeah, but I don't have to sit in staff meetings all day. So I can actually work at work. And they were
it's
like,
only scary setting up. I mean, and by God, is it frightening. It's frightening. It's all hell. But once you get it cruising, it starts to feel awesome. I mean, there's always that little bit of like, hey, no safety net. This all falls apart. You're screwed. But, you just get used to that. It's like a little bit of engine noise.
Yeah, well, it's also, I mean, I don't know about you, but I heard that noise pretty much through all of my employment for the last decade. So.
Well, you hear there's always a similar lack of security, even when you're at a so-called secure job.
People are just better at denying it when they're in a so-called secure job.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing I've actually been down where the Gigafactory is.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's right by Area 51, isn't it?
No, it's 9 miles east of Reno. It's a huge industrial park.
All right, what do we got for titles here? I've been promoted. Ah! Not Patrick Beja.
Is that exclamation Patrick?
This man is not French.
Yeah, that's not Patrick. That's keep
Backup
the car. Competitors. I kind of like that one. That's pretty funny. Subtle. In case of emergency, your backup, Patrick. Periscoping androids. I don't know. Do you guys like competitors, or is that too?
I like it. A little subtle every once in a while never hurts. Roger hates subtle.
Roger doesn't like it. All right.
Roger was bitten by subtle as a child.
Well, no, it's not. It just doesn't. I mean, who am I? Who am I to judge? Actually, no. No, that's
You're a tastemaker, Roger.
You judge what you want.
You tell me what a large section of the audience is going to think. I consider you a one-man focus group.
I should have been created as a Star Trek alien race. Yet another.
The Changs.
Like something where they cast judgment. I mean, isn't that like half the encounters the Enterprise comes across are aliens who judge them? You're human. You're primitive and violent, and therefore are.
I will read the Constitution at you, and everything will be better.
It's like the weirdest. In many ways, it's almost like a weird therapy session because they're always being judged.
I'm going with I've been promoted then.
I like I've been promoted. Johnny, I've been promoted.
Johnny, it's Ives with an S, right?
Ives? Is it Ives or?
No, I think it's just Ive. Wait, now you've
get
made
Ives?
me forget.
Oh, it is Ive. I don't know why you get Ives.
You
Where did I
drove
get
the
Ives from?
truth out of my brain.
Ooh, that's powerful.
You should say that for a title. It could be your next book.
Yeah. He drove the truth out of my brain. The Roger Chang story. So do we get Jenny back? There she is.
Yay!
Here.
So did
And
it,
we can
Here.
see you and everything.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out what the trigger is to make it go away, and so I've been slowly like doing different things to see.
Try to do something constructive and watch it black out.
Very funny.
No. Try to tell something, Tom, important. Let's see if it cuts the black.
Oh, Tom, I have something important to tell you.
Yeah, what is it, Jenny?
I don't know. I don't have anything important
It knows.
to tell you.
It knows it's that you're not really telling me anything. It's too clever.
Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I was trying to go to different applications or you know, like checking Twitter and it hasn't crashed yet. So maybe it's just having a moment. I don't know.
A senior moment for
Feelings.
It was having a
Nothing
maybe
more than
Google Hangout was just having a tantrum.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Day tripper, yeah. So Jenny, you're cool with I've been promoted?
Yeah, I like that one.
All right.
Johnny?
I can't wait to see
oh,
the
no,
mail.
it did. Here's Johnny. I would have thought that would have been another one.
Johnny's always in a white box. I don't think he exists anymore. I think he's virtual. That's why they had to do this. Like, oh, he's not going to do the day-to-day anymore. He is ascended.
He's ascended. He's become. Why do beings who become ascended somehow turn into a big ball of energy?
They would leave their
It's a thing,
corporeal forms behind.
Yeah, but that's not cool. I mean, really. Not to mention
That's
everyone
even
does it. After a while, it gets kind of tedious. Thought-wise, anyway.
Cue Green Lantern joke.
Roger, we are luminous beings, not this crude matter.
That's like the most. That doesn't even mean anything. It's like all matter's energy. It doesn't matter. We're all energy.
Feel the force flowing through you.
Force.
Control.
Can you feel that? That's merchandising, marketing, taking bills out of your wallet slowly.
Never your mind on where you are, what you are doing.
What you are doing.
You said that as more like Satya Nadella. I actually love that idea of him being a Yoda master.
Yoda. Y-O-D-A Yoda.
Weird.
And the Kinks.
Oh, someone just came up with a better title.
Oh, what was it?
I've ascended.
We didn't talk about that in the show, though. Is that still going to work?
It's pretty subtle.
Oh, I just saw a Darren cameo.
Woot.
Did you see it?
I missed it. I'm not looking at the video right now.
I see
Need a-
Paul.
Need a critter cam.
Yeah, no, it was a little peekaboo behind the window behind you.
Ah,
There's Seamus.
All I saw was the hat. Hi, Seamus!
I can go grab my phone and try to stalk Darren. Stalking the world.
He was just in that window behind you. He removed whatever fancy curtain that is.
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's
I am
pretty
almost
funny.
out of the post here, by the way.
Wow, I just realized something really funny about the place where they're building.
Did it used to be a cemetery and they just removed the headstones?
No, that's Poltergeist you're thinking of. No, I'll send you the article.
You just removed
Oh,
the headstones.
I'll bet I know. I'll bet I can guess.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
In Nevada, and Patrick's giggling. Therefore, it must be a
Stop.
dot dot dot.
I don't need the email. The guy who owns the ...
That's all right. We get the
guy who
email.
owns who's the guy who owns the industrial park.
I'm not even paying attention, and now I get it.
Oh.
I just think that's so awesomely Nevada.
Do you think that would be a benefit for working there? Oh.
It's a Gigafactory.
You're talking about 5,000 jobs if it completely scales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge. It's like 200. It's like 200 or 300 acres just south of 80.
You have another cameo.
It's like Patrick, but
Oh
from
my
the
God.
past.
It's not you, Patrick. It's your kids.
You've got to go back.
Yeah, you had to go forward, right?
This
To
is
the future?
confusing.
All right, that is it. Out of the post. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.